Hey, what's up guys? It's Dark Arm Duelist, and I just got first place at Locals with Marincess. This deck is absolutely amazing, and I cannot wait to show you guys this list. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell near so you can become part of Notification Squad, and let's get straight on into this. So, this deck is an amazing deck that can control the board extremely easily, especially with this list. And I even have a side deck to show you guys as well. So let's go ahead and get straight on into the list. So, first off, we're going to be playing one of the best cards in the entire deck, and that's going to be 3 copies of Marincess Blue Tang. Blue Tang is the best starter in the deck. That if she's normal summon, you can send a Marincess monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is usually going to be a copy of Seahorse that you're going to attempt to send to the graveyard off her effect, and then go into a copy of Blue Slug so you can get the copy of the Seahorse back to hand. If she's used as a material for the link summon of a Marincess monster, you get a Pot of Duality effect where you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and then you get to add to hand a Marincess card that you reveal, which is a super good effect, so you can climb into your copy of your Argonaut, which is an insane boss monster. We then play 3 copies of Spring Girl. Spring Girl is a really good 3-of in the deck as well, because she has a great ability that you can banish her Marincess monster from your graveyard to special her instantly from your hand, which is a great ability to use with this card. We then play 2 copies of Pascalius. I think 2 is fine. You don't need 3 copies of this card, because if you normal summon out this card and it's your only starter in your hand, it can lead to awkward boards, but it's still really good in this deck as a 2-of, because if she's normal summon to your side of the field or special summon, you can special summon a Marincess monster from your hand, which is a great ability. We then play 3 copies of Seahorse. Seahorse is an awesome card. It's a 3-of and a card you're always going to want to send to graveyard off the copy of Blue Tang if you don't already have it in the hand, because she has the ability that you can special summon her to from your hand to a zone of Marincess monster it points to, which is a great ability to use to just extend your play so you can go into your copy of Sea Angel, and it's just going to help you out a lot. Something easy to remember about the Marincess monsters: while this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can actually target a water link monster that you control and then special summon this card to a zone that monster points to, but when it leaves the field you banish it. The cool thing about this card is you can normal it and then link it away for like a Blue Slug, bring it back to hand, and then if you have any extender in your hand, you bring it out to your side of the field, and then you can actually go into like a Sea Angel and then special this to a zone the Sea Angel points to. So you can get some really good plays with this and summon this card like at least 3 times a turn, which is just really insane. This card is definitely a 2-of in the deck. We then play just a single copy of Sleepy Maiden. This card can be a little bit of a brick if it's the only Marincess in your hand, which didn't really come up. This card doesn't come up all that often, but it's a really good 1-of in this particular build, because it lets you target a Marincess that you control to special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, it gains the ability that while this card is in the monster zone, the targeted monster cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, which is a pretty good ability. She also has the ability you can banish her from the graveyard and then equip a Marincess link monster to another monster that you control, which is a pretty good ability to use with this card, making this card just a good 1-of. We then play the Shark package in the deck. The Shark package is great in this build, and quick shout outs to my friend Trey. This is a engine that he actually suggested for the deck just as a great extender, that if this card, if you control a water monster, you can special this card instantly from your hand, which is a really good effect just to get this card on your side of the field, and then search a level 3, 4, 5 fish, which you're always going to summon out the copy of Silent Angler, or search out Silent Angler from your deck to your hand off this card's effect, which is just really good. And if you use this card for an XZ summon of a number monster, you can treat it as level 3, 4, or 5, which we do actually play number 4 in the extra deck to go into with this card, just in case you want to crazy and control the field. And plus, we also side Gozen match, which is going to be a great way to control the board. We then play 2 copies of Silent Angler. You always want a target to be able to get to off your copy of your Shark. So this card is great in the deck, but it has to be the last card you special summon out of your hand, because after you special this from your hand, you can't special summon any more monsters from the hand. I then play a single copy of Nettles. Nettles is just great for recycling. It's a different name, and if you control a water monster, you can special it from your hand. You can also banish it from your graveyard and target 3 water monsters in the grave and shuffle them back into the deck, which is going to help you recycle your link monsters, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Gamma Seal, because I really don't want to have to deal with cards like Ultimate Falcon, Full Armor Master, Arise Heart, anything like that. This is just going to deal with instantly. Plus, we can bounce it back to hand with our copy of our Aqua Argonaut, letting us use this card multiple times a turn, which came up in the tournament. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's amazing. It's one of the best hand traps ever created. We then play 3 copies of Droll Knockbird, because this card is just nuts, and it's just an awesome hand trap overall, just to stop the opponent from touching the deck. And it's just really, really, really good. You can pretty much win games on Droll. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of 1-for-1 so we can bring out Mandarin to our side of the field because you really want to be able to use Mandarin in the deck. And this card just extends your plays. And this is actually why I play 2 Mandarin in the build, is because you can get to this card. This card is actually really good in the deck because it just helps you get that Mandarin on the field. We then play 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Okay, so the thing about Pot of Desires in this deck is that Pot of Desires is really important, but you want to make sure that as you're playing this card, that you basically don't banish this. This is very important. I am playing 2 copies of this card, but it's very important because you want to make sure that you have your Battle Ocean out of the deck already before you resolve Desires, because you might banish your copies of your Battle Ocean, which is just really, really bad. We then play 2 copies of Dive. Dive at 2 is fine. You don't need any more than 2 because it can brick at 3. You can play 3, but I feel like 2 is fine. I never really felt like I needed the 3rd one because this card is just really good because you can activate the effect that for the rest of the turn, you can't special summon monsters except water, which is fine because that's all we're summoning anyways. But if you don't control Battle Ocean, you can target a non-link Marincess in the grave and special it like a Monster Reborn. But if you control Battle Ocean and in your field spell zone, you can special summon 1 Marincess monster from your deck, which is really good to instantly get a copy of, say, Blue Tang if you don't already have it, directly to your side of field. And this is also searchable off of Sea Angel, which is amazing. A lot of people just think that Sea Angel searches the field spell. It doesn't. It also searches this. We then play 2 copies of Battle Ocean. Battle Ocean is the entire deck. You have to get to Battle Ocean. I play 2 just in case. You can play 1. I feel like 2 is the correct number of this card. It's really good because it lets all your Marincess monsters gain 200 attack. Also, each one gains 600 attack for each Marincess card equipped to it. And then also monsters that are in the extra monster and use Marincess Crystal Heart as a material are unaffected by all of your opponent's card effects. And whenever you link summon a Marincess monster, you can equip up to 3 Marincess link monsters from your graveyard to that monster, giving it a 2,000 attack point boost, which is just insane when you combo with your copy of Argonaut, because Argonaut will be unaffected by any of your opponent's card effects. And it'll also have 4,300, and when they activate a spell or trap, because of this thing's effect, it'll let you move your copy of Coral Anemone up to a monster zone, which it does lose 600 attack points. It'll go to, oh no, 37, but it's still huge and gets you a copy of your card back on your side of the field, which is just really, really good. We then play 2 copies, that's it for the spells actually. Let's get into the traps. So, for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Marincess Wave. 2 is the perfect number. This card is perfect at 2. You don't need 3. 2 is great because you're going to either draw into it, or if you Desires and lose 1, you'll still have 1 in the deck, which is fine. But this card is great because it's basically a hand trap that's just going to help you out so much to be able to basically just stop your opponent's plays. And it also is just really a great card in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is a great hand trap just to stop your opponent in their tracks from basically using monster effects. And you can also lay this card face down to be able to lock down entire columns of spells and traps, making this card a really good 3 of in the deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So, for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Argonaut. This is the entire big boss monster we're trying to summon all the time in the deck. This card is a Spell Trap Negate, and it's just really, really good because you can also target a water monster on your side of the field and a monster on your opponent's side of the field and bounce them both back to hand. And when you negate a spell or trap, you can actually move a Marincess from your spell and trap card zone back up off the effect of Battle Ocean, which is just really good. We then play a single copy of Bubble Reef. Bubble Reef is just great because it's going to help you draw cards, because once per turn during the standby phase, you actually get the ability to banish a water monster from your graveyard, and then it has the ability to let you draw a card, which is really a great effect because you can just draw into hand traps and stuff like that. I then play a single Marble Rock. Marble Rock is fine at 1. You only need a single copy of this card. You rarely go into it, but it's still really good. I made this card maybe once all day, which is fine. We then play a single copy of Coral Triangle. This card is basically Soul Charge, which is insane. When it's on the field, you can send a water monster from your hand to the graveyard to add a Marincess Wave from deck to hand. It says any trap, but you're only ever adding Wave off of it. But if your opponent Nibiru's you, you can actually still go off if this card's in the graveyard, because you can banish from the grave, and then summon Marincess Link monsters that equal a Link rating of 3 back to your side of the field, which is just going to extend your plays by so much and let you keep playing it and not lose the game. We then play 2 copies of Coral Anemone. Coral Anemone is the monster reborn that once per turn you can target a water in the grave and then special summon it back to your side of the field, and it can bring back link monsters because it doesn't summon them in defense position, it just puts them back on the field. And if this card does touch the grave, you can grab a water monster back out of the grave, which is a great ability. We then play a single copy of Crystal Heart. Crystal Heart is a great one-of because this card is just going to help you out in the long run to make your monsters immune. That's the only really reason you use it. We then play 2 copies of Blue Slug. This is the first link monster you're ever going to summon out of your extract. When it's summoned to your side of the field, you can grab Marincess back of the grave and add it back to hand, which is a great ability. 2 copies of Sea Angel lets you add a Marincess spell card from deck to hand, which is a great ability. But this card is awesome in the deck as a 2-of. I feel like 2 is the perfect number for the Blue Slug and Sea Angel. And remember, C for C, blue for blue, because you have to go in like Blue Tang for this, and then Seahorse for this because of the arrows, because you're going to summon it basically like that so that you still have a live arrow to be able to use, which is important because then you go in for Anemone. We then play a single copy of Zelantis. Zelantis is nuts in the deck because combo with your copy of your Coral Anemone, this basically locks out your opponent and banishes their entire field, because a cool combo with the deck is that when you use this card's effect, it water locks you where you can only summon water monsters, and then for the rest of the turn, so if you use this first and then make Zelantis, you can actually use this card's ability to banish all the monsters on the field, and unless your opponent's playing water, they don't get their monsters back because you banish them and you're summoning them back with Zelantis' effect, so they don't get their cards back, which is really, really good. That's why I love to Zelantis lock the opponent, because it can pretty much end games, and it's just super good in the deck as a one-of. We then play Bahamut so that we can summon out Toad. Toad is a walking negate, so it's really good in the deck. A lot of players don't play this, but I feel like it's necessary right now, especially with all the board breakers running around. We then play a single copy of Krajan because we are playing the Shark, and this can also Gozen lock your opponent, because if you have Gozen and this on the field at the exact same time, neither player can summon anything but water because this is making everything but water, so if your opponent's not playing water, they're locked out of summoning, which is really good. Plus, it's like a mini Dragoon. It can pop a monster on the field and then deal half damage to your opponent, whatever that had on the field of the original attack, which is really good. So that's it for the extra deck. Let's get into the side deck. So for the side deck, pretty simple. We're going to be playing 3 copies of Ghost Belle. Ghost Belle is great as a 3-of because this card is basically going to stop branded players in their tracks. So this is why I play this card as a 3-of. It stops graveyard effects. It's really good against graveyard decks. We then play a single copy of Feather Duster and 2 copies of Cosmic. This is just great in the deck for back row decks. I usually do side this in to be able to deal with Floodgates. We then play 3 copies of Anti-Spell. This is for the Pendulum players. This is a really good card right now. This card is really insane. It doesn't hurt us at all because we're only playing like 2 Desires. We're playing like 7 spells, I think, in the deck. I think we're playing a total of 7 because we're playing 1 for 1, 2 Pot of Desires, 2 Dive, and 2 Battle Ocean. And since we're flipping this on our opponent's turn, we're going to use our spells first anyway, so it's not going to hurt us at all. We then play 3 Gozen. This is for the Krajan lock. If you guys know about the Zombie World lock, this basically does the same thing, but for attributes instead of types. So you pretty much lock your opponent out because this is going to make everything water. This means you can only summon water, have water on the field. So if your opponent's not playing water, they're not playing. We then play 3 copies of Evenly Match. I feel like this is the great like board breaker right now. You could play Dark Ruler over this if you wanted to, or Lightning Storm, but I feel like this is fine right now. You could play a 3rd copy of Cosmic and 2 Lightning Storms if you want to go that route, but I really like Evenly. So that's pretty much it for the deck. It did get 1st place, which is really fun. This deck is a lot of fun to be able to play. The cool thing about Marincess is it's relatively budget as well, which is just super cool. I absolutely love summoning out Aqua Argonaut. That's just really fun. But make sure that as you're playing the deck, you do go for the Coral Triangle. That's something that Trey and I have developed about the deck, that you really want to make sure that you go for that copy of the Coral Triangle so that you keep playing if you do end up going in for more plays and your opponent does hit you with the copy of Nibiru. But quick shout outs to Trey. He actually helped me build this particular deck. He gave me a lot of really cool suggestions for this particular build, like the Shark Engine. And quick shout outs to Bud's Place. Thank you so much for letting us record. You're an awesome locals. We really appreciate you. And yeah, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification, become part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.